I didn't believe in ghosts. Not until I heard my dead mother whisper my name from underneath my bedroom floor. Not from outside the window, not from the hallway, from directly beneath my bed. And the worst part, she was asking me to let her out. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 32 years old, and until 6 months ago, I lived in Chicago working a boring corporate job I absolutely hated. Then, my father died. Heart attack. Quick. Unexpected. Alone. We weren't close, so when I got the call, I mostly felt numb. But legally, everything he owned came to me, including the house. A giant, isolated farmhouse sitting miles from the nearest town in rural Pennsylvania. It had been in my family for generations, a place I barely remembered from childhood. I hadn't been there in over 20 years. But after my dad died, my life in Chicago felt empty, meaningless. So I quit my job, packed my things, and moved into the farmhouse. Worst mistake of my life. The house itself looked exactly how horror movies warn you houses shouldn't look. 3 stories tall, rotting white paint peeling from wooden walls, rusty iron gate hanging crooked, huge black windows reflecting nothing but dead trees, and a porch that creaked so loudly it sounded like someone groaning in pain. The realtor asked if I was sure. That should have been my first warning. When I asked what she meant, she just forced an awkward smile. Locals don't really like this property. That was all she said. At the time, I assumed small-town superstition. Old creepy house, local legends, nothing unusual. I was wrong. My first night there was silent. Too silent. No traffic, no neighbors, no city sounds. Just wind scraping tree branches against the windows like fingernails. I remember lying in bed staring at the cracked ceiling, trying to sleep. Then, around 2:47 a.m. Knock. A single knock came from beneath the floor. I sat up, waited. Nothing. Probably old pipes, wood settling. That's what I told myself. Then, knock, knock. 2 more, slow, deliberate, directly under my bed. Not inside the walls, not downstairs, under me. I froze. Every instinct in my body screamed not to move, but curiosity is stronger than fear when fear doesn't make sense yet. So I leaned over the side of the bed and looked down. Nothing, just darkness. But the knocking stopped. I stayed there for maybe 30 seconds, listening, heart pounding. Then, just as I was about to pull back up, a voice whispered from under the bed. Ethan. I nearly fell off the mattress. My blood turned to ice, because I knew that voice. Everyone knows their mother's voice, even after 12 years, even after her funeral. It was her, soft, warm, familiar, exactly how I remembered. Ethan, help me. No, absolutely not. I scrambled backwards so fast I hit the wall, my entire body shaking. This had to be a dream, stress, sleep deprivation, grief hallucination, anything but what I was hearing. Then came scratching, slow scraping from under the floorboards like nails dragging across wood, and my mother started crying. real crying, small broken sobs. Miles, so dark. That was enough. I ran, didn't even put on shoes, just bolted downstairs and out the front door into freezing night air. I stood outside shaking for an hour, maybe more, too terrified to go back in. Eventually, dawn came. Birds started chirping, and suddenly everything felt stupid, ridiculous, like my brain had exaggerated some normal sound. So I convinced myself to re-enter. Daylight makes monsters look childish, at least temporarily. I checked under the bed. Nothing. No trapdoor, no basement access, solid hardwood floor, completely normal. But then I noticed something strange. One floorboard beneath the bed looked newer than the others, slightly different color, recently replaced. That made my stomach drop. Why would anyone replace a single floorboard directly under a bed? I grabbed a screwdriver from the kitchen, pried it open, and found a gap, a hollow space underneath, maybe 2 feet deep. Inside was dirt. Just dirt, dark soil, packed tightly, and something buried inside it. A small doll wrapped in yellow fabric. I pulled it out, unwrapped it. It was a child's doll, old, dirty, missing one eye, but I recognized it instantly. My mother gave it to me when I was 6. I lost it here during one summer visit 26 years ago. I never found it until now. My hands started shaking. How did it get under sealed floorboards? That wasn't possible unless someone placed it there recently. That night I drove into town, needed answers. There was one local diner open, tiny place, 6 stools, old neon sign buzzing outside. Inside, everyone went silent when I walked in. Not subtle silence, the kind where forks literally stop moving. People stared, like they'd seen a ghost, or maybe someone worse. An elderly waitress approached, her face pale. "You're Harold's boy." Not a question. I nodded. She looked deeply uncomfortable, then leaned closer. "You shouldn't sleep in that house." I laughed nervously. "Why?" Her eyes flicked toward the other customers. Nobody was pretending not to listen. Then she whispered, "Because your family never leaves alone." Silence. Not helpful. I asked what that meant, but she wouldn't elaborate, just repeated herself again and again, like a warning rehearsed for years. "You should leave before it remembers your back." That sentence haunted me the whole drive home. Before it remembers your back. What the hell did that mean? Back at the farmhouse, I searched the attic. Childhood instinct. For some reason, I felt drawn there. Dust everywhere, spiderwebs thick as cloth, old furniture covered in sheets, and dozens of cardboard boxes, family belongings, photo albums, letters, home videos. That's when I found the journal. Leather-bound, belonged to my father. Last entries dated 3 weeks before his death. I opened to a random page and immediately wished I hadn't. The writing was frantic, messy, panicked. It speaks through familiar voices now. First Mother, then Anna. It wants permission. Do not answer it. Do not look underneath when it calls. My chest tightened. I kept reading. It only mimics the dead at first,
once invited inside your mind, it stops pretending. What the hell was this? Mental illness? Paranoia? A prank? Then I turned another page and saw a drawing. Crude sketch, tall figure, long limbs, no face, crawling halfway out from under a bed. Underneath was written, "Not under the house is under it." I slammed the journal shut. Nope, absolutely enough. I decided I was leaving in the morning. Didn't matter how dramatic this all felt.
Something was wrong here, but that night it got worse, much worse. Around 3 a.m. I woke up unable to breathe. At first I thought sleep paralysis, body frozen, chest heavy, classic symptoms, until I realized why I couldn't move. Someone was sitting on me. Not metaphorically, physically. A weight pressed onto my torso. Humanoid, heavy, cold. I could feel knees pinning my arms, something leaning inches above my face. I couldn't see clearly in darkness, just outline, a shape darker than the room itself. And then it smiled. Not visually, audibly. You know how smiles don't make sound? This one did. Wet, stretching noise, like tearing meat. And my mother's voice whispered, "You opened it." My scream finally broke loose. I jerked upright. The weight vanished. Room empty. But my bedroom door was open. I always locked it. Always. And muddy footprints led from the hallway to my bed. Not human footprints. Too long, too narrow. As if something with stretched feet walked upright, then stopped directly beside where I had been sleeping, facing me, watching. I didn't sleep again. At sunrise I packed, keys, wallet, laptop, gone, done. But when I opened the front door, it wouldn't budge. Jammed. I shoulder-checked it. Nothing. Windows painted shut. Phone, no signal. Car, wouldn't start. Battery dead. Of course, naturally, because horror logic had officially taken over my life. Then I heard it from upstairs. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, crossing my bedroom. I was downstairs, alone. Something was in my room, walking, back and forth, then stopping directly above me. Silence, and one loud knock came from the ceiling, directly overhead, then another, then scratching like something digging downward, trying to reach me. I ran to the basement for tools. Bad choice, very bad choice, because the basement had changed. The dirt floor was disturbed, freshly dug. A large rectangular hole sat in the center, deep enough I couldn't see the bottom, and from inside came breathing, slow, wet, patient, not animal breathing, human-like, but wrong, too rhythmic, as if intentionally performing breathing, like imitation. Then my mother's voice floated upward. "Ethan, I found your father." Nope. Done. Every nerve in my body exploded. I backed away and bumped into something behind me. Someone. I turned. My father stood there, dead exactly as buried. Grey skin, sunken eyes, suit from his funeral, dirt spilling from his mouth. He leaned close enough for me to smell rot, then whispered, "It knows your name now."
and his jaw unhinged, far too wide, like skin tearing open. Inside his mouth, another face was smiling from within his throat. That was the moment my brain snapped into survival mode. Not logic, not understanding, just escape. I grabbed a shovel and swung, connected with something wet. My father collapsed, or whatever wore him did. And underneath wasn't flesh. It was hollow, like skin stuffed over branches, twigs cracking inside human shape. I ran, upstairs, through kitchen, straight at front window, smashed through glass with a dining chair, cut my arms badly, didn't care. I sprinted through the woods barefoot, bleeding, hysterical. Behind me, the house screamed. Not a metaphor, not wind. The entire structure emitted a deep, impossible shriek, like thousands of voices crying together. I never looked back. Eventually I reached the road. A passing truck picked me up. Driver asked what happened. I told him I fell, because what else could I say? Police later searched the property, found the house empty. No bodies, no hole, no journal, no broken window, nothing. Just an abandoned farmhouse, completely normal. They assumed psychotic episode, maybe grief-induced breakdown. Maybe. I'd almost believe that, except for one thing. 3 nights ago, in my apartment in Boston, I woke up to a soft knock from underneath my bed, and my mother whispered, "You brought it with you."